Okay, hitting record. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Creative Spirits Podcast. And this is our little interim break. Last week we chatted, to me, Kate Donnell from Gumboots by the Sea, all about my book, Poems to a Wild Gypsy Spirit. But I've got some great news, everyone. Sherrie McCartney of Creative Mermaids has been doing a little bit of publishing herself. She has just published the second short story of the prequels to what's going to be a series of novellas under her pen name, Lynn Francis, which I love. I have so much to ask about this, Sherrie. So welcome, and let's have a chat to Sherrie, real life published author and writer, here on the Creative Spirits Podcast, part of the Creative Spirits Podcast. This is so awesome, Sherrie. Where do we start?
I don't know. Where would you like to start? What would you like to know?
I think I want to start. I feel like the question on all of our
where would you like to start?
The question on all of our listeners' lips is definitely, why a pen name? Let's break it right down to pen name. Let's jump into the pen name, and then I want to hear all about the novella, the prequels, these beautiful characters that you've created. Can we start with pen name? Does that work, or do you want to talk a little bit about the books first? I love that you've got
actually, that's perfect, because I think the pen name fit perfectly into Creative Spirit.
Yes, okay.
Yes, well, this is just it. So, first off, let's go all the way back. Mm-hmm. And I have been wanting to be a writer since, even before I could write. Like, I can remember in kindergarten taking my pen and just, doing those whole loopy, filling up scribblers with stories of loop-de-loop-de curls. And my first book when I was 10 years old in grade 7. And it was like this mystery haunted house with spiders and tunnels, two cool girls discovering what the secret of the haunted house is. And, I was not a cool kid. I was never a cool kid. But people in my class started talking about this book, you know what I mean? And they weren't making fun of it. They were actually like, wow, someone in our class, wrote a book. And so, in perfect Sherrie temperamental writer, I destroyed it. I destroyed the book because it was getting too much good attention.
No.
Yes. So, Rebecca Campbell talked about this a lot, how you teach what you need to learn. Yes. Destroyed it. And so when I finally started publishing, I published memoir. I published nonfiction. Yes, because for me, books were something that Neil Gaiman wrote. Books were something that Margaret Atwood did. Books were Michael Ondaatje and Michael Crummy and Alice Munro. They were like pure poetry in motion, and something that I could not do. So I was finally publishing, I was finally writing, but I was writing travel memoir. I was writing, nonfiction. I could put my name to that. And I was still like, okay, I wasn't like, they're the best books ever, but I was able to say, this is me. But when it came to fiction, it was just so deeply personal that I was like, I can't. And also what was coming out was not as good as what I wanted. Of course it wasn't, you need practice. You need to write the books. You need to write more than one, and then I was someone who was basically refusing to write stories for years. And now all of a sudden I'm writing a story and going, this isn't Neil Gaiman. Well, of course it's not Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman took 20, 30 years before he was Neil Gaiman too. I actually started talking about it in Thailand, and I finally wrote it last year. So MJ was 4, which means that the winter before he conceived, I started talking about this book. So, she had a longer gestation than both my children together. Yeah. And finally I said, I got to put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
This is before coaching or anything else. I was still at home.
This is a part of your coaching
doing
story.
That, just writing. Yeah. And I wrote the book. Yes, very much so. And then I wrote the book. Well, it was a novella. The first one, Winds of Retribution. Mm-hmm. And I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And finally I was like, you know what? Put a pen name on it. Take that little bit of safety, that little bit of distance, You can always claim it as yours afterwards, but get it out. The important thing is to get it out. And actually, I mentioned this in the interview that we did with MS Wordsmith, but I actually was sitting on this, and I was so close to publishing it, and then I heard Michael Anderle talking about, on a Rocking Self-Publishing podcast, how he just wrote them and let the readers decide. He's like, put it out there and let the readers decide. And that was the final step that I was like, you know what, in order for me to do that, though, I need that bit of distance. And then I was like, okay, give yourself the distance. It's okay to use a pen.
So apart from that,
there's no shame in it if that's what you need. So that's what I did.
Oh no! If anything, to me, I'm more interested. I'm like, oh, tell me more. So apart from the podcast, like, did that message come within you? Like, was there any? Did anyone else sort of go, why don't you do a pen name? Or was that just your inner voice, your intuition, your inner knowing, like spirit? We could even, suggest.
100% my inner knowing. Although I had been listening to so many self-publishing and podcasting and everything else. And, a lot of people were saying, pen name, if it's drastically different, for instance, if you use erotica, you write children's book, stuff like that. And I was just like, no, that's not the reason why I want this. It has to do with that distance, that safety distance. And that was definitely my intuition there, saying that in order for me to have the distance, including a child crying, is...
Oh, Baba. See, Lynn Francis doesn't have kids.
It's okay, all right.
Yeah. So tell me, have you given? I just said Lynn Francis doesn't have kids, or maybe
she doesn't. It's
maybe
wonderful.
She does. But like, have you given her that kind of personality? Do you go that deep with a pen name? Like, do you take on the persona when you write, or did Lynn? Obviously, she came after the words, but yeah, how does that work? Chicken or the egg?
Yeah. And this was just it, and this is where things are kind of interesting, because for me, so I put out that book, and this was November of 2016, and I just put her out at the end of November, and then December I wrote the short story, and I was ready. I was like, okay, now I'm going to hit the ground running. I'm going to be like Lynn Francis and do all the things that Sherrie McCarthy's afraid to do.
Yeah.
And then my relationship to my partner almost fell apart, and my brother died at the same time.
Yeah. Wow.
So these two things together were like, poof.
Yeah.
And the whole thing went to the side. It was like, it was, I can't even think about this right now. I think maybe if she'd already been established and had that personality, she would have been a way to retreat into my writing and my publishing and keep going, because Lynn Francis has a wholly different viewpoint and abilities, and she's not afraid of marketing because she doesn't have to be. It's not me. You know what I mean? Like, it's that she's my shield, my boundary.
I absolutely know what you mean.
That didn't happen before it fell apart.
Archetypes, they save me. Yeah, they tell me how to do things, and I blame them a lot, and they let me. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same notion, really. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And yes, and so this was just it. Yeah. But at the same time, I also think, spirit takes you where you need to go. Yes. And I needed that year of deep healing and working. And I still want to keep Lynn Francis. But I also can now say, hey, she's me.
Yeah.
In the same way that you can see the archetypes are part of you.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah.
And yes, they can help you do things, but it's a tool in your kit that helps you sometimes realize, I want to do this, but I can't, so I need to pull on you. And when I pull on your strength, which is part of me, of course, Lynn Francis is me. She does not exist outside. The archetypes don't exist outside of us. But we go to Monk, we go to Lynn. They give us the strength to then do what we need to do. Hold on one second.
Yeah, definitely.
In every way, shape, and form.
This is the best. So, okay, we've got Lynn. We've got Lynn who came along, and she is definitely going to be a massive part of, because these are just the prequels, right? So there's so much more to come yet, and it's Lynn's likely going to take control of the novella and the rest of the stories. She's going to be the one that kind of brings them out of your mind, right? Because I read in one of your Instagram posts, you're saying, like, I can't get them as good as how I'm seeing it in my mind, and you mentioned it at the beginning, but you know, with time, with practice, I can become that writer, and I know that. But Lynn's kind of here to go, look, let's just get this done. Let's start yesterday and let's share. So there would have been quite a moment, like after a year of deep healing, losing your brother, relationship turmoil, there must have been a time when you put Lynn away. What brought her back out?
So this was just it. So everything you just said, right? So there I am going, okay, I know I want to write this. And I was really enjoying the coaching. And then I realized at one point, I mean, I still do the coaching. I want to do the coaching. But I realized that I'd gone so far in the opposite direction of helping other people heal and be creative that I'd started neglecting my own again. Where at first I was ignoring everyone and everything and just looking at myself. And then, you know, in the middle of last summer, I launched the Creative Environment Living Virtual Retreat, which was kind of like my start bringing healing together, start doing some work, start showing myself that, you know, I don't have to lay flat on my stomach and grieve all the time. You know, it's something I can put myself together. And that's the funny thing with grief, you know, that some days you can be like the whole day, and especially with me where I lived in Europe, my brother was Canadian, I never got to see him. So it was normal for me to go a whole day, a whole week, a whole month and never even see or talk to my brother. Because given his lifestyle too, it wasn't like, I have one brother who I have WhatsApp and we talk on Facebook, but my other brother's lifestyle is what killed him. And because of that, I might go weeks without seeing him and then suddenly he'll pop up. So it was normal for me to kind of go a whole month without thinking too much and then all of a sudden be like, ugh, he's gone and I'll never see him again, and be flat on my stomach crying downstairs for a day, you know, like it was really weird.
It was literally like the
that
rocky
whole
boat
grief experience.
Like sometimes smooth sailing, sometimes not so smooth. Yeah. Wow, Sherrie.
Exactly. And so yeah, and then eventually, you know, you go through this healing, you go through this process, and I actually I'll share it here in this link too. Another creative mermaid, Mel Hammond, by the time we put this, will be a couple weeks old, but still totally relevant, where how telling people to write every day is probably not the best thing to do, because some days you just can't write.
I read Mel's post about that today too. Yes, I was like, yes, some days you just can't. Like, yeah, yes.
Exactly. Now, she did say that she often journaled it. And I realized that that's often what I was doing. And what I was doing last year was I was journaling, I was writing, I was getting the pain out, but I wasn't always shaping it into something publishable. And that's fine. And I was starting to beat myself up. And I realized then, okay, when I start beating myself up, that's when something needs to change. You know, you get this friction where when you're in total pain and you're just not thinking about it, then you're where you need to be. But when you start getting this friction of I should be doing something else, but I'm not, that's when you're kind of moving into I'm healing. And I think this is also what I mean with the missing middle, that people start thinking that that's when they go with, oh, this is where I'm not good enough. Now I can't do what I want to do. I can't write. I can't publish. At the same time, I'm telling myself I should. I start beating myself with the whip. That's when I realized, okay, when this friction happens, you're actually healing. This is actually where you're starting to move. You're not there yet. You're still in the cocoon, but you're moving towards getting all that together and breaking out. And so that's when I gave myself permission. I couldn't write the second Lynn Francis book, but I could write a novella. I could write a short story. I'm like, let's play with Sudoku. Let's start doing this. Because I originally thought it would just be background for me for the second book. And then I realized, no, actually, he wants his own, and a short story is fine. And then I started writing book 2. So now that I'm almost finished book 2, I put out the short story.
Yes.
So, but it really was then this whole process. Exactly. But I think it was important to respect that pain and that distance and not force myself into it, and realize, you know, hold space not just for my grief and my pain, but also my own story, my own development as a writer. And again, the story isn't what I want it to be yet. You know? No. And so with book 2, it's better than book 1, but it's not where I want it to be. But also, we live in a world now where chances are, if this was, you know, 50 years ago, these books would never have been published. And I know that. But I probably would have had someone who was like, you're close, you know, spend the next 2 years refining the idea, developing it and sticking it out there. And we'll talk in 2 years. But now I kind of live in a place where I can put the books out anyway, get used to putting the books out and being like, well, maybe they'll find their audience and maybe they won't. And if they won't, I'll find out what people don't like, you know? So it's almost like this instant feedback of what
Yes.
people like and what they don't like. And
Yeah.
that's okay. And I love that. It's just a new experience. And just because it didn't happen 20 years ago, you know, when people had a slush pile and it didn't exist, you know, you couldn't get out of the slush pile. You had to go through like one reader who was like making major decisions, like with lots of money on the line and their jobs on the line. That doesn't mean that putting my new tentative squishy books out, like, who aren't perfectly formed, it's wrong, because I'm not charging, you know, an advance of $20,000 in the hopes that someone will read my book. You know, it's, you know, they're $2.99 to $4.99, and people can invest in them. They're short, and I either like them or they don't, and that's my feedback. And to move from there, and I think that also took me a little while to accept that, to kind of go with, you know what, just because it's different doesn't mean it's not okay. It's a new world, and that's fine. We're moving forward. We're making our own rules, guys.
And do you know what, Sherrie? Like, once upon a time, that would have been a really weird thing. That what? You're going to pay that person money to work on a book that might sell? Like, that would have, like, everything, they're all stories, aren't they? Like, that would have been a strange concept. And now, like, you know, that was the dumb thing. Do you know, until I spoke to you, I didn't really, like, when you're like, why are you waiting for this big publisher? Like, just publish them yourself. I was like, what? Do people really do that? Like, I had no idea. So, like, I think, you know, it's people like you who are just embracing the new way and going, why not just give it a go? Why not just put your stuff out there? And this is the best, like, you know, the customer doesn't lie. Those statistics are real. Like, they like to buy it, they share it, or they don't. Like, when it comes to people investing, purchasing something, they're only going to spend their money if they really, really want to. And they're only going to tell other people to spend their money if they really, really want to. So I think putting a price on it's really important, but also going, I don't have to put heaps and heaps of pressure on myself or on other people to buy anything, because I am just willing to put my words, my work out there. It's all going to shape something bigger and better. Or maybe it's not. It doesn't actually matter, as long as you're creating, you're giving, and you're honoring your true heart's desire, which I really feel you're doing. There's a delay.
Yes. No, that's so huge. I know there's a delay. That's I'm like, I really hope that it's not like, you're not like, she just left me. No, I actually agree 100%. And the only thing I want to add to that too is that as authors, we are so lucky. And this is a Dean Wesley Smith thing that I'd heard from his Killing the Sacred Cows of publishing. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's a really huge self-publishing fan. And what he said was that, guys, we live in a world where we can't mess up. You know, like, if you totally bomb and people are like, Lynn Francis books are the worst, then tomorrow put a different name on it. You know, write a different series and a different book and learn the craft better. Take everything they said. And Neil Gaiman also has a great quote, which is that when people tell you what's wrong, they're always right. When they tell you how to fix it, they're almost always wrong. But really looking at that and integrating, so not letting them dictate what you write or how you write it, but, you know, integrating things. Okay, well, this didn't work. I don't agree this is why, but actually maybe this was really why. And going with, okay, and I put a new name on it. I put a new name on it. Done. You know, like, as long as you don't have the ego attached that it has to be Sherrie McCarthy or it has to be Lynn Francis, who everyone knows is really Sherrie McCarthy. I can just take these lessons where I got paid to learn. Okay, people pay me money to basically tell me my work is crap, as opposed to, you know, I just wait for months setting my work out, hoping and praying.
I don't think many people have told Sherrie her work's crap, just by the way, just like the add there.
No, but you know, actually, so far I was surprised, actually, because I was really happy that the reviews that came in, because of everything that happened, I didn't build a review team. I didn't send it out to people I know. I didn't send it out to people I already had a relationship with. And so there wasn't a lot of reviews. There was only like 3 or 4. But the ones that came in were all really positive from strangers. So, you know, like, the positive from strangers is always so much more maybe reliable than, which is why Amazon doesn't let your mom review your book.
Yeah, they're unbiased.
Exactly. That's why Amazon says your mom's not allowed to review your book. Like, he will remove that review. Like, I'm Sherrie's mom, and it's the best book ever. You know, there's a reason why Amazon says you're not allowed to do that. So as long as you have that ego attachment, and again, it's the ego. It's the ego that's always stopping you from working, either because you don't want someone to leave a bad review on your name, or because it has to be your name on the book that is published. You know, like, ego will tell you different lies to stop you from creating and putting it out there. And I think this is the important thing, is to realize, is this my ego speaking, or is this my deep-seated desire And sometimes they're the same, but very rarely.
Yeah, very, very rarely. So do you know what I was just thinking then? Like, and there's a total pun here, like, but we choose what story we write. Every single day we wake up, and this is bigger for just the creatives. We're all creatives, but this is bigger for just the people who are listening in particular to this little, our little mini series within our series break, to writers that, it's bigger than just to writers. Like, we write our stories every day. You can wake up and go, today's going to be a good day, or I'm going to do this differently, and I'm going to work towards this. Like, constantly evolving, constantly in the butterfly cocoon. Like, it's always changing. That's what we spent the whole first series of creative spirits talking about. So, like, I'm just going to embrace the pun and go, we write the stories, and that's, we write our stories. What makes us writers, what makes us authors, what makes us published, is embracing who we are and honoring it. Yeah. To MJ. Yeah. Preach. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing to that, because now I'm kind of distracted because kids are running around screaming.
Yeah, you're doing great. I've got some wrap up plans. I've got some wrap up plans ready to go. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I would just add that one last thing is that because we are the authors of our story too, we have to remember that any good story has pain, and we need to remember that. And this was something that for a long time as a writer I couldn't do either. I can't remember who said it, but it was like the best thing you could do for a story is put your protagonist in a tree, throw rocks at them, and then let them get down. And we often put them in a tree at best, but we don't want to throw rocks at them. We don't want to throw rocks at ourselves. And this is what keeps us stuck up in that tree. Because until we feel those rocks, until we're pelted, our story is not allowed to end. We can't come down and be a butterfly until someone hit us with a rock. And if that's your ego saying you can't write, if that's your ego saying you can't publish,
yes,
yeah. If that's, like I said, just the pain that you're not willing to sit through before you can start creating, we have to accept that the whole life is bliss and pain together.
Yes.
And we got to stop running away from it and sit with the pain so we can move through and do something bigger and better. Oh
my God. These are like, total metaphor for life, by the way. That's what I was getting at before, I think. But also, this is so encouraging.
That's why I just want to tack that on there.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. I'm like, you got it. You grabbed it and you threw the rocks, babe. I felt it. It was good. It's like I made a note to Randoms to Awaken Spirit. Like, I'm like, I've got to really, it's safe to put the soul trampoline bits in. Like, it's so important. So, and this is how we do it. We work, we support, we encourage. But now I've dropped the title of my books a good 2, 3, 4 times, and this is about you, my love, and the work of Lynn Francis. So tell us, where do we find the story of Riku? Where do we find the latest short story of Sutoku? My pronunciation is bad on the Sutoku. Where do we?
Mine's probably wrong too. It's Japanese.
Well, Lynn would know. Lynn would not get this wrong. Tell us, where do we find these prequels? And you're obviously going to drop the link on SoundCloud, and we'll share it for our YouTube watchers. But for any listeners, where are they going to come and support you, this up and coming writer who has a pen name? And happy days. Where do we find these stories?
Exactly.
I'm so keen to read them.
Amazon.
Great.
Yes.
And
so everything's on Kindle Unlimited except for the Kitsune Wife, because you can get that free from the mailing list. So
great.
Kindle Unlimited. Yeah. LynnFrancis.com.
Perfect. Lynn Francis has
2 seconds.
Of course she does. LynnFrancis.com. Perfect.
She does.
Amazon, Kindle. We'll have all the rest dropped in, but do you know what?
And you can get the book off Amazon as well, the paperback, but the short story's not.
You know how I feel about paperbacks. But can I just say, like, the real essence of us, like, putting you under the spotlight, Sherrie, is 1, your passion. 2, you bounce back. And 3, how you are able to put all of your focus on coaching, supporting others as you heal, but also honor that you have a creative side and that there is, your fiction stories need attention too. And so, all hail you, beautiful soul. I can't wait to hear what our listeners have to say about the Lynn Francis, aka Sherrie McCartney, and happy days.
Yes, sorry about the ending.
Do you have anything else to add before you have to go and make sure your children aren't drowning?
Exactly, right? This is the messy middle, people. This is what it looks like, but if you work through it, you'll get your book out.
Yay!
Honor the cocoon.
Honor the cocoon, aka life. Sherrie, thank you so much. We're going to catch everyone next week with a really, really special guest. So thanks for being here, listeners. This is Creative Spirit signing out for another amazing week. We love you all. And wow, this isn't even season 2 yet. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, bye.